Hello, my name is Nora Ford, and I'm a student here at the University of Kentucky. Today, I want to talk about something that has become deeply important to me, which is the state of abortion rights in recent years. This topic is paramount because women should always have the final choice over what they do with what they want to do with their bodies. I personally believe the government should not have control over a woman's body in such a way, especially with something as extreme as carrying a child, and should allow women to have the final choice on what is best for their circumstances. The way the U.S. government has handled this issue in recent years, like the overturning of versus Wade, makes me very concerned and invested in what comes next for the right to choose. On the screen, I am showing an illustration titled My Body, My Choice by Chelsea Cardinal, published in 2021 for the New York Times. This image visually represents the pro-choice perspective that I just discussed. Before I discuss this topic further, I would like to add some disclaimers about biases I might have with this topic. First of all, I will always be skeptical of the media's use of emotional manipulation and will expect news outlets to be biased. So I might unintentionally seek out sources that align with my more pro-choice ideals and might not talk fairly about opposing standpoints. These are just some biases you should be aware of before you listen any further. Now, the articles I'll be using for this TED Talk are a 2026 article written by Carter Sherman in The Guardian, which discusses the states that voted to protect abortion rights and focuses on what having those rights mean for everyday life. I will also be using a February 2026 article written by Liam Quinn in The People, which primarily focuses on a proposed amendment that would make women who got an abortion eligible for the death penalty in the state of Tennessee. To start out, the first article is the 2026 article written by Carter Sherman in The Guardian. Through the CRAP test, it can be deemed a reliable source for this project. It was posted February 2nd of this year, making this a very recent published source. And because my topic focuses on recent abortion right developments, this article is both timely and relevant. The intended audience is mostly pro-choice activists, which fully aligns with my values. This article was written by Carter Sherman again, and a reporter recorded who has written over 385 articles about reproductive health and justice, and was published by The Guardian, a news outlet recognized for using evidence-based data and concise analysis in its coverage of current events. In terms of accuracy, the article includes references to state voting data, direct quotations from lawmakers and advocates, and specific examples on how abortion protections impact daily life, which strengthens its credibility and reliability. This article was produced in order to inform people of what is happening in certain areas of abortion rights and gives the audience a concise overview without having to dig too deep for information. The article is also more consistent with being biased, and because of this article is more of an overview, it only really reviews the pro-choice stance. The second article was written by Liam Quinn and published in the People magazine, and it also passes the CRAP test. This article is also recently published, only being posted on February 25th of this year, making this the most recent article that I used. It also directly relates to my need of a contrasting article for my pro-choice ideals in order to make this talk less biased. The intended audience is more for pro-life supporters and the people who primarily live in the state of Tennessee, as this could affect them. On the screen, I'm also including a political cartoon by F. Main titled Pro-Life Protester Holding Si la Vida Abortono sign. Published through the Ollie Resource Center, this image reflects pro-life activism and represents the perspective emphasized in the article by the people. The author of the article, Liam Quinn, is also a crime reporter for the People and previously worked for The Record, a newspaper based in New Jersey. While he may not specialize in reproductive health and justice like Sherman, His qualifications as a crime reporter are suitable for the topic of this particular article, which involves talk of the death penalty. The news source who also posted this article, is a well-known magazine that specializes in verified original reporting in specialized topics like crime and human interest, and uses journalists that hold credentials for film and industry events, as well as White House press briefings. The article is accurate because it utilizes outside sources like the Nashville Banner and WTVF, as well as first-hand accounts like direct quotes by Tennessee State Representative Jody Barrett and GOP State Senator Mark Pody. This article was reviewed by a team of editors before being published, and it was also published for the purpose of informing, but it is biased because it only gives information really through a pro-life stance. To summarize, I chose these two articles specifically because they offer stark contrast opinions on the topic of abortion rights. The People article has a very pro-life view, while the Guardian article has a more pro-choice stance, which allow there to be less bias. It is important to mention that each article was written by the opposite gender. The Guardian article about pro-choice was written by a woman, while the article from People is about pro-life was written by a man. While gender alone generally does not determine someone's viewpoint, it can sometimes influence which perspectives will be shown more. This connects to the concept of gender bias, where viewpoints may be shaped by lived realities. To start off the topic of ownership, The Guardian is owned by the Scott Trust Limited, which was established to maintain the source independence and progressive stance. The Guardian has a reputation for social justice coverage and being more center-left bias. That ownership structure might encourage coverage that showcases more civil rights concerns and lived-through experiences of women affected by restrictions on abortions. On the other hand, the People magazine is owned by Dotdash Meredith, an American media corporation. The People is more focused on being an entertainment publication, but because of its business model, it often uses attention-grabbing details to attract readers. Because of this use, the article contains sensational bias, which we discussed in the February 10th media bias lecture. This bias involves use of emotionally charged wording in its title in order to provoke strong reactions from its audience. The headline emphasizing the death penalty is something that easily draws readers in through emotions of shock and potentially anger. Additionally, both articles show bias by omission. The Guardian article focuses more on pro-choice information, while the People article does something similar with his pro-life stance. It explores the converse. It explores a more controversial topic, but does not do a deeper dive into the legal and medical context about recent state abortion rights, which could be considered more pro-life. This also connects to the topic of how media framing can influence public health articles. For example, a study published in 2023 in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health explains how media framing can shape the public's perception of health policies by emphasizing certain risks while minimizing others. So ownership, audience targeting, and editorial reputations influence how each of these news articles writes about abortion rights, even if the reporting seems reliable. To conclude this talk, I explored two vastly different news outlets that talked about the issues of abortion rights in 2026. I also used the CRAP test to determine their credibility and consider how media bias and ownership might shape the public's understanding of this issue. I also included my own perspectives on the matter of abortion rights and acknowledged how my beliefs may influence how I interpret the news. While my pro-choice beliefs on abortion haven't really changed, my perspective on the matter has broadened. The major change that occurred for me is how I evaluate what I read. Now I pay closer attention to ownership structures and what information they may be omitted. As an ending thought, the, the media shapes how we understand politics, rights, and even health, then which makes media literacy not optional, but essential to have. And in conversations as complex as abortion rights, that skill will matter more than ever now.